Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
Eddie is a Shay locomotive that runs on the narrow-gauge Denville and Western Railroad that runs up from a connection with the Southern United Railroad at Denville. But he's not the only engine on the line. Two of the engines, Malcolm and Lewis, collided in the yard and both needed repairs. The other three, Sean, DeJuan, and Sapphire, were busy on an important assignment at the other end of the line, leaving Eddie to do most of the work on his own. But he didn't mind. He knew how important this narrow-gauge railroad was, considering it supplies coal and ballast to the Southern United Railroad. There's only one community in the mountains. The small town is called Brook. It has a few houses, a general store, and a station. There are roads that run down to Denville, but they're dirt roads and aren't paved. So they depend on the narrow-gauge engines a lot to bring their mail, supplies, and other things that they need. When they hear the trains coming, it's a big deal. The engines stop at the station. The station hands unload everything that was ordered for their station, and then the engines leave on their way. One day, Eddie was shunting at Denville Yard when Larry puffed in with some coal cars. "Hello, Eddie," said Larry. "Hello, Larry. Nice to see you," Eddie replied. "How are Malcolm and Lewis's repairs coming along?" Larry asked. "Oh, they're coming along fine. They should be repaired within a few days." "That's good to hear," said Larry. "I admire how you're running the line yourself with really no problem." And with that, Larry puffed away. That afternoon, the sun had disappeared behind dark clouds, and Eddie had pulled into Brook Station. The station master was worried. "It looked like it might snow," said the station master. "I don't think it's gonna snow," said Eddie. "I mean, my driver didn't hear anything about it on the radio report." But you never know with winter," said the station master. "I don't think it's gonna snow," said Eddie. "Besides, I would have been ordered to bring supplies up to you if it was." "Yeah, that's true," said the station master, and Eddie puffed away. But when he puffed at a Denville tunnel, he was shocked to see snow falling from the clouds. "Oh no, the people at Brook," he said. Larry and Danny were at Denville and heard Eddie whistling frantically. "I wonder what's wrong with him," said Danny to Larry. "I don't know," Larry replied. "Eddie, what's the matter?" called Danny as he pulled to a stop. "It's snowing, and the people up at Brook need supplies. I have to go back up there." "It might be risky," said his driver. "But we have to," said Eddie. "We can't just leave them like that." "Oh, you're so brave," said Danny. "And very responsible too," Larry added. So Eddie quickly reversed to the switch. And then he coupled up the 2 tankers full of water and told the workmen to load up the supplies in the cars that he had brought down and the cars he was going to pick up. He then quickly reversed out of the yard. "Good luck," called Danny and Larry together. Eddie made his way along the line as fast as he could. "Steady, boy, steady," said his driver. But Eddie was determined to make sure the citizens of Brook had their supply to get through the snowstorm. The citizens at Brook weren't beginning worried until they heard Eddie heroically puffed into the station. "Ah, Eddie," said the station master, "I knew you wouldn't forget about us." "How could I?" said Eddie, all out of breath. The next day, Eddie was resting in the shed. Malcolm had just been repaired, but Lewis needed a little bit more work. He then heard Larry's whistle. "Why does Larry have an extra caboose?" Eddie thought to himself. Out of the caboose stepped Mr. Egan and Mr. Campbell. They walked over to Eddie. "Eddie, what you did was really brave," said Mr. Egan. "Yes," said Mr. Campbell. "We're very proud of your actions." Well, thank you, sirs," said Eddie. "I couldn't just leave those town people hanging like that." "I know," said Mr. Egan. "That's why we've decided that once Lewis is repaired, you can have some time off." "Yes," said Mr. Campbell. "And you're going to get some repairs, and you're going to get a brand new coat of paint." "Oh, thank you," said Eddie. He was so happy he blew his whistle loudly. Larry was happy too. "Eddie, you are a very wonderful, hard-working engine indeed." "Thank you, Larry," smiled Eddie. Eddie felt more proud than he did in a long time. The Denville and Western Railroad is a very wonderful narrow gauge railroad. Departing from Denville, the trains immediately go through a tunnel. On the other side of that tunnel, they pass through the hillside with a stream down below it. They then pass through the town of Brook, through another tunnel, and they come out down below in this nice, beautiful canyon with another stream beside it. They then climb through yet another tunnel and arrive at a place called Summit. The line then loops around over itself over a spectacular wooden bridge. The trains then pass by an old ruined castle that has its own station because it's open to tourists. The trains then pass over another bridge and arrive at the last station, but that's not the end of the line. From there the line splits. One goes to a ballast line and the other to a coal mine. Sean, DeWan, and Sapphire are three from college that live on the railroad. One thing they love more than each other is teasing one another, and this was no exception one day when Sap came back to the shed. Oh, it's nice to be home to rest after pulling my passenger train, said Seth. You're pretty happy for someone that's always late, said Sean. I'm not always late, replied Seth. Yes, you are, said Dewan. This is like the third time this week you've been late with your passenger train. It hasn't been a third week, has it? Seth said, a little worried but trying not to show it. It is, said Sean. If you're not careful, they'll probably take your passenger services away. Her two brothers laughed. Seth huffed and backed into her shed. What if they do take my passenger train away? She thought to herself, a little worried. Next day came, and as soon as Sapphire's crew was ready, she rushed out of the shed to pick up her passenger cars. Don't be late, called Dewan. Sean laughed. Saph ignored them. She rushed over the points and backed onto her passenger cars. Come on, she said, all aboard, let's go. You can't go yet, said her driver. We have to wait for Christian with the mail. Sapphire was cross. She waited and waited, and it seemed like forever until Christian finally pulled in. I'm sorry, said Christian, but I got delayed at the junction. Well, said Saph with an attitude, you have to do better than that if you're going to be connecting with my train. What? Said Christian, but before he could retort, Sapphire blew her whistle and puffed away with her passengers. Sapphire blasted through the tunnel. She was trying to get her train back on schedule. Her first stop was at Brook Station. Her driver tried to stop her, but when he did, Saph just went right through the station and into the next tunnel. Her driver reversed her, but still Saph was trying to go fast, and ended up passing the station again in reverse. Third time was the charm, and Sapphire's driver managed to gently coax her into the station. Overrunning the station twice made Saph even more late, and she blasted through Summit, past a very surprised Eddie. Well, she's in a hurry, Eddie said to himself. After a quick stop at the castle station, Sapphire puffed away, determined to get her train back on schedule. It wasn't long before Saph arrived at the end of the line. I gotta make up for lost time on the return journey, she thought to herself. Soon Sapphire turned her train around on the loop and was ready to leave on her return trip. Calm down, girl, said her driver. We'll depart soon. Soon the passengers were on board. Saph blew her whistle loudly. Come on, let's go! And she steamed away, much too quickly. The switch in front of her was set in the wrong direction, but Saph was so busy thinking about being on time that she didn't notice. Suddenly, she hit the points and with a loud clunk, she came off the rails. Oh no, said Saph. This isn't good. Thankfully, only Saf herself, the baggage car, and the combine were off the rails, but the other passenger cars weren't, and the passengers themselves weren't hurt. They were just a little shaken. Soon Malcolm arrived with the wrecker to put Saf and the cars back on the rails. Eddie took the passengers home, and Malcolm brought Saf back to the sheds. Miss S was waiting for her. I cannot believe it, Saf. Derailing yourself in part of your train, too. I'm sorry, ma'am, said Saf. I just want to be on time. I heard about how you've been acting today, she said. You made yourself more late by pulling all those stunts you pulled. I'm sorry, ma'am, said Saf. Miss S turned and walked sternly away. Sean and Dewan now felt sorry for Saf. We're sorry we teased you, said Sean. It's alright, said Saf. All this stuff was my fault. Don't blame yourselves. But it was our teasing that made you do all that, said Dewan. It's alright, said Saf. It taught me a good lesson. Don't make yourself later by trying to make up for being late. You know, she smiled. If you two want, you could take my passenger train for me sometime. No, said Dewan. Yeah, agreed Sean. Passenger trains seem like they're too much work. We'll stick to our freight trains, thank you. And all three engines smiled.